I do not like the Kerrang contents page because it's very busy. It's not simply laid out. If I wanted to sort of flick to a certain part of it, it'd take me a couple more minutes to sort of find what I was looking for. Like, I don't like it at all.
No.
And
I like the spin one.
one more on Kerrang. Half of it is dedicated to Bring Me the Horizon.
And a rather large picture of them, which is a bit unnecessary.
It is unnecessary because I don't know.
But what if they're a main feature of the
Yeah, that's
magazine?
true.
Well,
If they're a main feature, then fair enough. But I still don't like how. Like, if I was going to have a picture of the band there, I'd have it like more simplistic with like a simple background. Whereas there's a lot going on in the picture and on the contents page.
And as someone who's not particularly a fan of Dave or Florence, I recognise them instantly from their face. They're famous enough that they can just have a picture, and I'm like, oh, that's Florence and the Machine.
The target audience,
Yeah,
they're
that's
going to
what I
know
was
who
going to
they
say.
are.
Like, if I read Kerrang, I mean, I know who Bring Me the Horizon are anyway, but if I read Kerrang, I would know exactly who they are. Yeah. That's like the target audience of Kerrang are sort of into that kind of thing.
From Kerrang?
Yeah, I really like the spin one.
Spin is a good.
It's quite.
Yeah.
I really like the
What's
layout
there?
down the side
And
and the image. The image is nice because the background's not overcrowded. It's really, really simple, and the clothes are very dark. So there's like a contrast between the bottom of the page and the top of the page.
I think the fact they've got like a little bit about each article means
Yeah.
you just kind of read that bit, figure out if you're interested or not, and then flip to it as you want. Like, I know some people will just read it cover to cover.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for a quick,
I would say here, Enemies contents page is quite bad, really.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one
It's
either.
crammed with things like at the bottom. About a quarter of the page is made up of subscribe today on page just £1.
Yeah, that would annoy me.
advertising.
Yes, and it's telling you about things, competitions at the back of the magazine, which you're not necessarily interested in at all,
Yeah.
and then you cram the rest of it into another smaller area. So I don't think that's a very good.
The same with Q as well, actually. Like, it annoys me how there's like a lighter section there and then a darker section there. Like, I'd want it to be more like this, where it's all the same colour, like on the page.
I think
Yeah, but what if it sections it off for a certain reason?
Yeah, but I don't like it. I think if
Makes it hard.
How would you do it if there were special edition articles that you wanted shown?
I'd have them in a
prominently?
different font or something. I wouldn't change the colour because I'm quite a sort of graphical
you're
person.
Right. I think
Like,
that
it
colour
irritates
scheme
me
looks
if
professional.
Yeah, if there's no like professional looking colour scheme, then it gets on my nerves. I like Mojo, Spin, and is that V? I like those because they look quite sort of classy and more expensive.
So you'd want, like with the camera angle, do you think a full body shot and mid shots of just one artist instead of loads of different shots of others?
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
mid
think it
shots are
matters.
more suitable on the contents page for
Yeah.
certain people. Like Kanye West is here on the V contents page, and if they had this photo on the front of V, I would think, why have they bothered to include anything below his head? Because he's one of those people that you see his head and you know who he is. But here, I don't think it matters. Whereas a close-up shot like Q have gone for with Adele, I think it looks very big, it's very in your face. Whereas this is slightly more subtle, and even though it might take up the same amount of space on the page, because it shows you more of something, then it's not like Adele's face staring back at you that takes up about 3/4 of the page.
Yeah.
Do you think like a content should be more text dominated because of its purpose, or image dominated because it's a magazine you want it to be entertaining?
Half and half. Like, obviously, I think the Kerrang and the NME ones are quite text dominated, but not in a very clear way. That's why I like the Spin one more, because it's got all the relevant text. It doesn't go over the top.
If you look at Spin,
it's not crowded.
then if you want to be like, as in this takes up this amount of the page, the photo takes up much more of the page than the text does. But at the same time, that gets it across much clearer than, say, Kerrang, who have things dotted all over the place.
Although it does look like Spin have got more than one page for the contents, because it starts at 30, 34 or 54 or something. I think a double contents page would be better, because then you're not trying to cram everything onto this one page and making it look overcrowded.
So do you think for maybe like a Kerrang style, they should do it across a double page to make it clearer?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're going to have such a big picture of a band like Bring Me the Horizon, you'd want to split it up, so maybe stuff to do with them on one page and maybe related things.
The Kerrang one, What do you think about the way it is split between the text and the image?
It irritates me.
So you
Everything
really don't
about
like
Kerrang!
it?
I really,
irritates
really
me.
don't like it
But
because
that's, I'm not the target audience. So,
it's split in half, which when you're on something as small as an A4 magazine, I think when you split it in half, it just annoys me. Whereas this one, you've got it, it's like in thirds. You've got the text taking up a third, and then the image is having 2/3. Like, it's quite asymmetrical, but in a nice way.
But do you not think on the Kerrang, because of the like style and genre that it is, having that dark area and then that light area that brightens up a bit kind of works for the contrast?
I think that the difference is it's not about ratios of text to images or anything like that. I think the difference here is here on Spin, you've got a clear image, and beside it you've got a clear line of text, and the two don't meet. Whereas in Kerrang, you've got things overlapping, images overlapping other images.
Very different fonts as
Different
well.
fonts,
styles
different
and
colours.
sizes.
Quite organised.
Like words, lapping over other images, and I just think it all looks very messy and amateurish.
Although
And
I
I mean,
do-
I see why they do it, but
Yeah.
personally,
I suppose, like, the target audience of Kerrang are mostly going to be teenagers who are into that kind of sort of heavy metal, all over the place kind of music, which would appeal to them. Like, I don't think the Spin contents page would appeal to the target audience of Kerrang.
So
What
what
style
yours
do you think
does.
would suit a punk?
Punk,
Yeah.
if you
It
want
was like a
to
punk
have,
rock kind of magazine. Do you
If
think
you-
the Kerrang
yeah.
style, or maybe another style to bring it more modern and like?
if you go
Keener.
for punk rock, then I'd say the Kerrang one or the NME one.
I think you're right in that you presented your average 14-year-old Bring Me the Horizon listener
Yeah.
with Spin or V. They would
They
would
find
think
it
it
quite
looks
boring. Yeah.
But
Quite adult.
Yeah.
and I mean, presumably, Kerrang have worked out that's what works best for their target audience, because they are them, so they should know. Kerrang
It looks like one of
is
those
crammed,
women's
isn't it?
gossip magazines.
It does.
Yeah.
It's got
The
like
photos
Real
they
life
didn't want you to
stories.
see.
it's got like the photos overlapping all over the place, and it's got those big exclamation speech bubbles on it, as if like it's always has to have your attention.
Everything
5
wants to be in your
awesome
face at
posters.
once.
Do you think these match the punk style more?
Oh yes, I prefer those
That
ones
one.
a lot.
That one.
But then when you look at these are quite clearly the old ones, so they are literally punk when it was happening at the time.
But they've got old pictures
They
of like
have.
the Sex Pistols, but they've brought it. They're modern magazines,
Yeah,
but they've
I like
kept that
that.
vintage look. So
Yeah, I like the vintage look actually.
I think that's quite good because it keeps it where it's meant to be. That makes sense. Like, things are always evolving and changing, but they've kept it where it was at its
Yeah,
best.
so if you had, like, because these are both from Spin, if you had that picture of the Sex Pistols with that layout, which is very modern and minimalist and clear, it just wouldn't look right, would it? I think
No.
it just looks a lot more in keeping with the theme of the band.
I think that with this queue as well, it doesn't necessarily have any less articles than, say, Kerrang or the other edition of Q, but what it does is, on the front, it sums up what the article will be about within a few words. Like, I think it states what they are, as opposed to this one on Vibe, which says TI exclusive. People have been comparing me to Tupac. So what?
Yeah, again with the Kerrang, it's sort of like it's drawing you in by making out that there's some sort of scandal going on, like the photos they didn't want you to see, which again I think would appeal to the target audience, because if it's younger people, kids at school, they gossip a lot, don't they? They want to sort of they want to be in the know and everything. Whereas the Q magazine with Florence on the front cover is sort of just, it's basically telling you what's in there and what it's about, and if you want to read that, then you'll buy the magazine.